Walk into a garden centre and the plants are the first thing you see. They are almost never where the money is. The money is in the cafe, the gift shop, and the 1,000 small things you did not come in for. The plants are the reason you drove out there. They are not the reason the business survives. You came for the garden. You paid for the cafe. Hold on to that, because once you see it, the whole strange layout of the place starts to make sense. Start with the plants themselves, because they are the problem the rest of the business exists to solve. A large share of what a garden centre puts out for sale is alive, and it begins dying, or at least aging, the moment it arrives. Every plant on the bench is a small clock. It has to sell before it wilts, before it roots through the bottom of its pot, before it outgrows its label, or simply before it stops looking like something anyone would want to carry to the till. And an unsold plant is not a neutral thing that quietly waits. It has to be watered day after day. It has to be moved, fed, kept alive, and given space and light, all of which costs money and labour. And if it still does not sell, it is eventually thrown away, having earned nothing and cost quite a lot along the way. So the core product of a garden centre is perishable, needs constant care just to stay saleable, and carries a thin margin even when it does sell. That is a difficult thing to build a business on. So the business is not really built on it. Now look at the space all of this needs, because it is enormous. A garden centre requires outdoor beds and standing areas, polytunnels and glass houses, a large covered retail barn, delivery access, and a big car park, because customers arrive by car and leave with heavy, bulky things. That is a great deal of land, heated or maintained in parts, rented or bought, and paid for every single day. And a large portion of that expensive space is given over to the plants, which earn very little per square foot. So the ground itself has to be justified by everything the site can sell that is not a plant, which is exactly what a modern garden centre does. It fills that valuable space with the things that actually pay. The cafe is the clearest example, and on many sites it is quietly one of the most important parts of the entire business. A garden centre cafe serves tea, coffee, cake, and lunch to people who have driven out, who are in no hurry, and who treat the trip as a morning out rather than a quick errand. The margin on a slice of cake and a pot of tea is in a different world to the margin on a tray of bedding plants, and unlike the plants, the cake does not die if it is not sold by Thursday. Then the gift shop and the homeware. The candles, the cards, the ornaments, the cushions, the kitchen bits, the seasonal decorations. None of it needs watering. All of it carries a far healthier margin than the living stock. A garden centre is, increasingly, a large gift and homeware shop that happens to have plants attached to the front of it. The plants draw you in. The non-plants pay the bills. But here is the part that genuinely surprises people, and it turns the whole idea of a garden centre on its head. For a great many garden centres, one of the biggest trading periods of the entire year has almost nothing to do with gardening. It is Christmas. In the run-up to Christmas, a garden centre can transform. The barn fills with trees, lights, decorations, artificial wreaths, gifts, and often an entire festive experience, sometimes with a grotto and a ticketed attraction on top. People come in their thousands, not for anything they will plant, but for the decorations, the day out, and the cafe doing its busiest weeks of the year. And this is not a happy accident that the owner stumbles into each December. It is planned for months ahead. Space is cleared, seasonal stock is ordered in bulk long before the leaves have fallen, staff are taken on, and a large slice of the year's buying budget is committed to a few weeks of trade that must land, because the plant side alone was never going to carry the site. A quiet spring can be survived. A poor Christmas, for many garden centres, cannot. A startling share of the annual takings, on many sites, can land in those few festive weeks. The building whose name is about gardens does some of its most important business, selling things that will never touch soil. And that tells you what the business actually is. It is a large seasonal retail and hospitality operation with a garden department at the front, and its calendar is shaped far more by Christmas and the weather than by the growing season you might expect. Which brings us to the boss nobody hired. The weather. A garden centre lives and dies by the sky, in a way few shops do. A warm, dry spring bank holiday can be one of the best trading days of the year, with the car park full and the benches emptying fast. A cold, wet spring can quietly erase the very weeks the whole plant side is built around. And the stock does not pause to wait for better conditions. It keeps growing, keeps needing water, keeps aging, whether the customers come or not. So the plant trade is squeezed between a short, weather-dependent selling window and a product that will not wait, while the real financial weight of the year rests on the café, the gifts, and a Christmas season that has nothing to do with gardening at all. So consider what you are actually running. You are not buying a plant business. You are buying acres of expensive ground, a café, a gift shop, and a Christmas department, with a beautiful, dying, barely profitable garden section at the front to give the whole thing its name and pull the cars in. The plants are the easy part. They were never where the money was. What you are really paying for is the car park, the cake, and a very good December.